Welcome back, Doug Pagitt Radio. 10 minutes to 2 here on March 6th. And this is a segment we call Right On, where we give a shout out to those whose strength, whose faith, whose hope, and whose love inspires. As the house band likes to say it there. May your strength bring us strength. May your faith bring us faith. May your hope bring us hope. May your love bring us love. One of the reasons that we live in community with one another in this world is so that we can see the ways that others are doing it. Because the world isn't even. It's not. It doesn't happen at the same rate. It doesn't happen at the same pace all the time.
Nope.
There's a moment when one of us are in the middle of a cripes and somebody else is in the middle of a right-on.
Yeah.
And you need to constantly be talking to one another. You know, I go around and I give advice to churches and I write books about church stuff and all that. And one of the pieces of advice that I like to give to some churches is you got to have a little more right-on. You gotta have a little more. You gotta have a little more hope in this thing. You gotta have a little more. This isn't all that there is. There's places where it shines through. There's places where the breaking has broken.
A little more heaven, a little less hell.
Yeah, a little more heaven, a little less, a little less hell. And then some places I say to them, you gotta have a little more cripes in this thing. You really need the both. Because we live in the experience of both of those.
Life is hard,
right?
And
right. You live in the you live in Cain and Abel, and you live in the new world, and you live in both of them all the time. So we like to end the second hour with the right on.
We're already and not yet.
Where we are exploring what is and what people are doing and what could be.
It's like you're taking a magnifying glass and pointing
burning an ant with it. Oh no, go on.
So that would be the
yeah, and trying to bring up that's
to
a good way to
reveal the good that's out there.
Yeah, to reveal what's there. You know, a couple of weeks ago, and somebody reminded me here on the Facebook page about this. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about how the word apocalypse, the apocalyptic view, and there's this big movie coming out in 2012, The Apocalypse, and all that. The apocalypse tends to sort of have this idea that there's the end is coming.
Yeah.
But the word apocalypse, what it really means is to bring back the veil, to lift the veil and see what really is.
Oh, wow.
So this is apocalyptic part of the radio show. Really. Right? Because we're bringing it back. We're saying there's these things that shine. There's these good things that happen. And we want to show them all.
Apostles of the apocalypse.
Apocalyptic radio on AM 950 in the voice of Minnesota. At NickPagittRadio.com. All right. So on Saturday, hundreds of people decided to jump in. Here's what they did. They get together over at Lake Calhoun, one of the big city lakes here in Minneapolis.
Which is frozen over.
Frozen, and I mean...
You drive a car on it.
You clearly drive, I think. I think you still drive a car in that.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how deep it is. 6 inches, 8 inches, 12 inches, 20 inches? Do you know, Ian? Do you know how thick it is? I bet somebody could look this up and could find out the details for us. It's thick. Well, they went and they cut a big hole in it, removed the ice, and they invited people to put on Hawaiian outfits, Hawaiian shirts and shorts. This was last Saturday. It was freezing.
Yeah.
It was freezing out there. To raise money, to get other people to pay them money so that they would go jump in the icy lake.
Yeah. 13, 20 degrees.
To raise money for the Special Olympics. Now, look, Special Olympics, fantastic.
Yes.
I mean, how great is that?
Right.
To the Kennedys and Shrivers and all these, good for them
Yeah.
on having the Special Olympics. It's fantastic. But it's really about the Special Olympics, right? The reason people jump in the lake, the reason people do the fundraisers, it's not just because they're committed to that cause. And frankly, you're not raising enough money, $75 at a time, to help care for the Special Olympics. Special Olympics is going to be funded. It's a big dollar project. The reason people do these kinds of fundraisers is because it raises prominence of the issue so that you can then raise the corporate sponsorship, right?
Yeah.
So that's all right. We're all part of this. Let's just let's be a little apocalyptic about it. Let's raise the veil and tell people what it is. But what I think is impressive about this is that here are people who are saying to themselves, you know what doesn't make any sense? It doesn't make any sense to put on my shorts when it's 13 degrees out and go jump in an icy lake where I could freeze to death. That doesn't make sense. And some days, the right on goes out to people who do the thing that doesn't make sense to show the light on the thing that does make sense.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's terrific. This is what in the world of Bible language. I mean, we've done a lot of explaining today. You were telling me that during the break. We had a couple of options what we could talk about. And you said, hey, hang on a minute. You had to explain the budget problem.
Yeah.
You had to explain Easter and its timing and Ash Wednesday. You had to explain heaven and hell, and you had to explain why a guy wants me to raise chickens.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot going on in the radio program today.
There's been a lot of apocalyptic.
There's been a lot of veil raising.
Yeah.
Make it easy. Walk these people down the primrose path. This is Sunday morning car talk, right? People are in their cars and they're driving along and they're listening to this. So take it easy on them. Give them an easy one that they can that can totally make sense for them.
Yeah.
But you know what this is? This doesn't make any sense. You know what? Because you know why? This is like Old Testament prophecy. Here's what I mean.
Okay.
In the Old Testament, there's these prophets. Now, a lot of them get the image of being like these doom and gloom people, but they weren't. You know what Old Testament prophets were like?
What's that?
They were performance artists. They would do something spectacular and something wild and something crazy to try to raise attention to some issue that's going on. There were poor that were being left behind. There were people who were endeavoring in religions outside of their cultural norm. The prophet's job was to say, if you're going to pay attention to what God would have you to do in this world, you need to have your attention drawn to me doing this performance art piece. Right? So prophets, they would use language that would be that way. They were like spoken word poets. They were like a man who would lay on his side for a year and then flip over and lay on another side in the town square. There are people who would strip all their clothes off and go stand in the town square and yell and scream. Right?
So they're kind of like David Blaine a little bit.
Yeah, they're street performers, right? And in that is what they're doing is they're calling out saying, you need to pay attention to this other thing.
Yeah.
So the right on goes out to those who find themselves having to do that peculiar thing, having to jump in the frozen water, having to wear Hawaiian leis around their neck while they're standing on the shores.
It's the willingness to put themselves in discomfort to bring attention to this very important thing.
Amen. Discomfort and humiliation.
Yeah.
Now, so there's this wonderful picture in the paper today. There's a picture of these folks jumping in the water, and they got a great look on their face, and I know people who've done this jumping in. And for all the beauty of the performance art piece that is that, there's these women that have the have like lifesaver things around their stomachs. You see them there? They got like the circle rings, the blow up deals.
The arm floaties.
They got the I don't know. They got the life saving tube. Sort of.
You think they're not all in?
I feel like they're not all in. I don't know. Maybe they can't swim. Maybe you should have. I don't know. It just looks a little funny, right? Like these people jumping in. And so to anyone who has the call on their day, has the call on their moment, has the call on their life to be the one who does that peculiar, odd thing to draw attention to that which is good and right in the world.
Yeah.
From Doug Pagitt Radio, you get it right on. And some of you might be called to that this week. You might be called to that strange moment. You might be called to that funny spot where it's your job to do that thing, to do that little performance piece. And to you, we say right on.
Right on, Desiree, for getting cold and wet for those kids.
I know people who did this. Desiree did it. Desiree and others, they get the right on. They jumped in, and they're the kind of people that are going to bring attention to that which needs to have attention shined on it. I mean, some of us are going to have to be serious about it. Some of us are going to have to be diligent. Some of us have to run the spreadsheets. But to others, they get to put on the Hawaiian outfits and jump in the freezing cold water and right on.
Yeah.
Good for you. So to anyone who's called this week to shine a light on that which is good in the world, by doing it in a way that others wouldn't have imagined. Good for you. Right on. Keep it up. We'll be back next week, Doug Pagitt Radio. You can follow all of this. You can share the story of this. You can listen to this again and again and spread the words to your friends over at Facebook.com/Doug Pagitt Radio. We'll be back with you next week. And may your strength bring us strength. May your faith bring us faith. May your hope bring us hope. And may your love bring us love.
The Tom Hartman Show.